This is the Here We Go Rapid Review, designed to be doable while you're on the go, commuting, working out. Right now, it's time to get what's yours. Contract remedies under UCC Article 2. Here we go.
What can you get when you sue remedies? Some things in general, or the biggest thing in general with remedies, this will answer 99% of your remedies questions. The UCC wants you, the aggrieved party, to get the benefit of the bargain. That's what the remedies are all about. They're all about the benefit of the bargain, aka protecting the expectation interest. All the remedies, all this stuff is all based around benefit of the bargain. So have some hope. I'm going to throw some math equations at you with some symbols and stuff. But if you just remember benefit of the bargain, you can derive all these little equations. You can just figure it out on the back of an envelope, because it's really all just different ways of thinking, how can we get the aggrieved party the benefit of the bargain? So if you're looking at the slides, I have a bunch of abbreviations for these things, and I'm sticking those in the slide for you to refer to. Some general points about remedies. Like other things in the UCC, the parties can change remedies by contract, but only to a point. There must be a remedy that does not fail of its essential purpose. If you have a contract for a sale of goods, the other party's got a lot of bargaining power, and it says in there, you're the buyer, it says, buyer's remedy is limited to an apology and a 50-cent coupon. That fails of its essential purpose. That's essentially no remedy at all. That makes the whole thing illusory, and the UCC will not tolerate that. So you got to have some meaningful remedy. Also, a limit that the UCC puts around this is that sellers cannot get consequential damages, but buyers can. And in contracts for the sale of goods, sellers often try to exclude consequential damages by contract. A lot of times when you buy things, there's a bunch of fine print. One of the things that's in there is it says, no consequential damages, because then sky's the limit. So you contract to buy a pair of shoes for me, and I don't deliver them on time. You say, oh, now I didn't have the shoes. I couldn't win the marathon. I would have gotten $100,000. It's pretty speculative, but maybe there's a situation in which it's not speculative. Sellers don't want that, so they will try to modify that and get rid of consequential damages by contract. But sellers can't get consequential damages, really, even if they say, I'm entitled to consequential damages, because sellers, what do sellers get? Sellers get money. What's the consequence of not having money? The UCC assumes you can go to the bank. So if you don't have enough money, you're having a cash flow problem, then we have finance, we have capital markets that you'd be able to fix that. So the UCC does not like the idea of sellers suing because they didn't get money on time. You want money, go to court, get the money. If you want bridge financing, go to the bank. But if you needed a certain object, that's what sales of goods is all about. Money's not good enough, I need a car or I need a windmill. Then the UCC says, oh, well, you need stuff, and if you don't have the stuff, then consequences might flow from that. That's why the UCC says, all right, we'll allow consequential damages for buyers, but not sellers. Okay, so remember, benefit of the bargain. That's going to take you through different measures of remedies, and let's go through some measures of remedies now. And remember this, that the various measures of remedies are not necessarily exclusive. You can pursue more than one at a time as long as you don't double recover and get a windfall. So let's look at seller's remedies first. First, most normal kind of seller's remedy is action for the price. So you agreed to buy a car from me for $10,000. I want my $10,000. Okay, so action for the price. The damages are the contract price. And then, of course, the buyer gets to keep the goods. I can't say, well, you agreed to give me $10,000 for the car, so I want the $10,000 and I'm going to keep the car. Action for the price means the buyer keeps the goods and the seller gets the price. But this is a disfavored remedy because it's specific performance. And the law doesn't like specific performance. If you don't want to hold to your contract, the law doesn't like to make you go through with the contract. The law just wants you to get the benefit of the bargain, which means money to make you whole, to make you good, to bring you up to where your expectation would have been. So the law doesn't like that, forcing the buyer to take the goods and pay the price. But it can be used under some circumstances. So that's the first one, action for the price. Next one is contract price, market price differential. The formula for this is contract price minus the market price plus incidental damages minus expenses saved. So if I contracted to sell to you, say, 700 barrels of oil at $100 a barrel, and then you didn't follow through on the contract, and it turns out the market price for oil is $50 a barrel, then I'll take $100 a barrel minus $50 a barrel, so I'll get $50 a barrel times 700 plus incidental damages and minus expenses saved, and that'll be my measure of damages. Why contract price versus market price? Doesn't that leave the seller better off? Yeah, because they were supposed to get the benefit of the bargain. If the seller was so smart they could sell someone a barrel of oil at $100 when it's going for $50, they're supposed to get the benefit of the bargain. That's the idea behind contract price, market price, differential damages. Okay, next, resale and resale damages. So if you were supposed to pick up the car for me, you didn't do that, you didn't pay me for it, I can sell it to someone else. And then the measure of damages is the contract price minus the resale price plus incidental damages minus expenses saved. So I had a fishing hut, ice fishing hut. I was going to sell it to you for $5,000. You breached. I resold it. Best I could do was selling it to someone for $2,000. Get the contract price $5,000 minus the resale price $2,000. I get $3,000 plus incidental damages minus expenses saved. Usually you have to give proper notice, and that's resale and resale damages. Now, you should note that resale damages don't give the benefit of the bargain to a lost volume seller. What's a lost volume seller? Let's say I agreed to buy an ice fishing hut not from you, but from the big ice fishing hut dealer. Big store that's got a big inventory of ice fishing huts. They've got 20 on the lot at any given time. If they don't sell an ice fishing hut to you, are they going to resell that ice fishing hut to someone else? If someone else comes on the lot to buy that, that's just an additional sale they would have had. They'll just get more ice fishing huts in from the manufacturer. They'll get in as many as they can sell. If I go into a Target or Walmart and I change my mind and don't buy something, that's a lost sale for them. They're not going to make that up by selling those goods to someone else, because they'll sell those goods to as many people who come in. Say I go to a car dealer. I was going to purchase a new pickup truck, and then I breach. That's a lost sale. They can't make that up by selling that pickup truck to someone else, because if they sell all the pickup trucks on the lot, they'll just get more from the manufacturer. So retailers who can keep replenishing their inventory aren't made whole by resale, because then they're just cannibalizing an extra sale that they were going to get anyway from the next customer who comes in the door. So for lost volume sellers, resale damages don't really work, so there's lost profits damages. So lost profits damages are the contract price minus the costs plus incidental damages. So if I don't perform on my contract to buy a new pickup truck from the dealer, the car dealer, then they can get a measure of damages based on, well, the retail price, the contract price was $40,000. I pay $25,000 wholesale to the manufacturer, so I got to get the $15,000 to be up to where I would have been if you'd performed on your contract to get to the benefit of the bargain. Now let's talk about buyer's remedies. Buyer's remedies. So the seller breaches, the buyer is aggrieved. First thing a buyer can do is cover. They can go out and buy something from someone else. So I was supposed to get a pickup truck. You didn't deliver. I had a contract to buy a pickup truck from you for $40,000. You didn't deliver. Now I'm in a rush. I need a pickup truck. I found another one from another dealer, but they charged me $50,000. So I go out and cover by getting goods from another seller. So the measure of cover damages is the cost of cover, $50,000 in my example, minus the contract price, $40,000, plus incidental damages, plus consequential damages, minus expenses saved. So I got to go out and buy the same item, more expensive, I get the difference. That's cover damages. They are available where goods were not delivered or they were rejected rightfully, as long as the buyer was acting in good faith without delaying unreasonably. Next measure of buyer's damages is contract price, market price differential. That works for sellers and also works for buyers. So that's the market price minus the contract price, plus incidental damages, plus consequential damages, minus expenses saved. This works for non-delivery or repudiation. So you were going to sell me 1,000 barrels of oil at $50 a barrel. You breach. I just look up, what was the market price on that day you breached? If it was $100 a barrel in oil, we'll just do it on paper. I don't have to go out and actually buy more oil. I can do without it. I can just go by the market price and the contract price. So it's the market price minus the contract price, plus incidental damages, plus consequential damages, minus expenses saved. And note that these can be available even when they exceed actual losses. You can get some pretty big damages judgments here. So say it's that oil contract. Contract was $50 a barrel. The market price was $100 a barrel. You were able to cover it $55 a barrel. You can use market price damages and get $50 a barrel in damages. Be pretty nice. Then finally, specific performance. So specific performance is an unfavored remedy for buyers as it is for sellers. You have to show that damages are inadequate, and that might be pretty easy to do where the goods are unique. So if you contracted to buy an antique book, there's only one copy of it around, now you're not going to get the book. That's a situation where you could get specific performance and force the seller to give you the book even though they changed their mind. If it's a Ford F-150 pickup truck, you could just get one from another dealer. Court won't want to do specific performance there. But if it's an antique, something that's unique, one of a kind, that might be a good case for specific performance. Finally, last of the buyer's remedies is cost of defect, breach of warranty damages. So this is for accepted goods where you haven't revoked acceptance. There's a breach of warranty. The measure of breach of warranty damages is the value of conforming goods minus the value of the non-conforming goods, plus incidental damages, plus consequential damages. So you bought a car and the wheels fell off the car while you were driving on a winding mountain road. What is a car worth that has wheels that work well? Say it's $25,000. What is a car worth that has wheels that fall off of it? Maybe it's worth $500 for scrap value, so we'll subtract that. Then I'll get incidental damages, I'll get consequential damages for my medical expenses and lost wages because I couldn't get to work. That's your breach of warranty damages for the cost of the defect. So that's the seller's remedies and the buyer's remedies. Finally, last thing to talk about with remedies is to talk about liquidated damages. So what if a contract says we agree that the damages in case of a breach are going to be $5 million, liquidated damages. We're just going to name that number up front. It's called liquidated damages. To be upheld, for a court to enforce liquidated damages, those liquidated damages must be reasonable. And they must be reasonable in light of the anticipated or actual harm caused by the breach. There must be difficulties in proof of the loss, and there must be inconvenience or non-feasibility of otherwise obtaining an adequate remedy. So for liquidated damages, the court's got to say, yeah, it'd be really hard to figure out damages, and it would be hard to prove them, and it would be inconvenient to obtain an otherwise adequate remedy, and they're reasonable from the point of view of the time of contracting, even if they turn out to be unreasonable in hindsight. So that's liquidated damages. If the liquidated damages are unreasonably large, then they're void as a penalty. You're not allowed to have a penalty for a contract. Well, I want to make sure this contract's performed. I want to make sure that I get my Ford F-150 pickup truck on Saturday. So if it's not here, $5 million in liquidated damages, that should light a fire under them and make sure the pickup truck, that's just a penalty to try to bully someone into performance, and that will be void. You have to prove that the liquidated damages are reasonable, kind of real. It can't just be a penalty. Note that the reasonability of liquidated damages are generally measured from the point of view of making the contract, not hindsight. So even if they turn out to be unreasonably large in hindsight, so long as they were reasonable from the point of view of when the parties were making the contract, they'll be upheld. That's it for remedies.